Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into how grassroots, community action, and state-level politics crash together to shape your everyday life here in California. Whether you're building a business, trying to navigate local government, or just trying to wrap your head around the ballot this November, the stories we're covering today from the Observer Group newspapers show exactly how local choices echo all the way up to the state capitol. Here is what we're looking at today. First up, empowering Southern California entrepreneurs. Then, we'll navigate the immigrant experience, celebrate some local community and culture, shape the November ballot, and wrap up with reforming state education governance. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Empowering Southern California entrepreneurs. We're talking Silicon Valley coming to Bakersfield.
So, we're kicking things off in Bakersfield, where a local program is literally bringing Silicon Valley to the Central Valley. At the launch of the Kern Inclusive Entrepreneurship Hub's Making Money in 2026 workshop, Serial founder Anita Darden-Gardine dropped a really brilliant analogy. She said, getting investment is like walking into an 8th grade cafeteria. You know that feeling, right? To get a seat at the table, you have to bring in allies who share the vision that capital should follow talent, not color, gender, or race. She challenged local business owners to rethink everything they know about revenue versus true wealth. Just having high revenue doesn't automatically mean you have cash flow, and it definitely doesn't mean you have access to investment. Her cafeteria analogy perfectly captures how isolated, underinvested founders can feel.
To break down those massive social barriers, this program rolled out a rigorous 4-part curriculum. We're talking real, actionable training on scoring lucrative government contracts, utilizing AI certificate programs for growth, and nailing that 60-second pitch so founders can sell themselves impromptu in absolutely any room. They even brought in tech heavyweights like venture capitalist Chris Ye, who co-authored the book Blitz Scaling. He hopped on virtually to drop some masterclass knowledge on market testing, stressing that if you can't find an audience that wants your product, you got to be willing to unlearn your past and find a brand new audience entirely.
So, why does this matter? Well, empowering underserved founders isn't just about launching a few businesses. It's about a fundamental shift from simply generating income to building lasting, generational wealth. Customizing this kind of equity doesn't just create jobs. It sets the tone for the entire community's economic independence.
Moving on to Section 2, Navigating the Immigrant Experience, specifically the State of Black LA Community Forum.
Let's explore a vital community forum that recently went down at Charles R. Drew University in Los Angeles. Jelani Hendricks from the LA County Anti-Racism Department hit the nail on the head with this quote. He pointed out that when you're black, you already have a target on your back. But add being an immigrant to the mix, and the likelihood of deportation just skyrockets. This forum gathered data for the upcoming State of Black Los Angeles County report, and residents really laid bare the compounding daily realities of facing both anti-black racism and intense legal fears. It's a stress that touches every single part of daily life. And these systemic blind spots absolutely demand local government action. Think about mixed-status households living with this constant, quiet need for emergency exit plans, or language access. Not every immigrant speaks Spanish. Many speak languages like Haitian Creole, but local resources almost never reflect that. Throw in the severe digital divide that completely locks families out of online legal help, and you've got profound isolation. The result? Young kids are forced into adult roles, creating severe disruptions to their own education and home stability.
Here's why this is so critical. Understanding these lived experiences is the only way data can actually drive better policy and funding. Somebody at the forum shared a brilliant, simple example, just driving past a local school and seeing a bunch of kids crowded under one single shade tree. That simple observation, that is data, and that data should drive policy to make sure all kids get shaded areas to play. Getting feedback directly from the streets is how you build a safety net that actually works.
All right, Section 3, Celebrating Community and Culture. Let's look at the 4th Annual Inglewood Music Festival. Let's pivot to a much brighter moment. Hosted by the City of Inglewood and Councilwoman Dion Falk, Darby Park was completely transformed this past 4th of July. The flow of this festival just built incredible momentum all day long. You had DJ Quest Coast keeping the energy fluid right from the morning, leading into an afternoon with the nationally recognized Inglewood High School Marching Band taking the stage. We saw incredible local vocalists, sets spanning reggae to salsa, and it all culminated with iconic evening performances by Climax and Cameo.
So why do events like this matter immensely? Because they solidify the cultural identity of a city and provide a joyful, unifying space for folks to actually connect. On a day usually filled with massive blockbusters and private backyard BBQs, this festival allowed neighbors to put their differences aside, share some amazing food and music, and celebrate collectively.
But as we zoom out from these awesome local stories, from Bakersfield wealth building to Inglewood festivals, we kind of have to ask, how will the macro-level decisions being made up in the state capital ultimately affect them? Because while grassroots action is the heartbeat, the funding and rules for these local cities are often decided miles away in Sacramento.
Which brings us right into Section 4, shaping the November ballot and the big local tax compromise.
This is fascinating. We almost had a massive, incredibly expensive political showdown over taxes, but state leaders and the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association struck a last-minute deal. Let's look at this side by side to impartially see how this shook out. On the left, the withdrawn initiative would have severely restricted real estate transfer taxes, making it incredibly hard for cities to raise money. On the right is the compromise they traded it for, known as ACA 22. If voters approve this, it will write into the Constitution that all future local special taxes require a 2/3 voter approval. So tighter rules, but avoiding the broader restrictions.
As part of that grand compromise, lawmakers also agreed to pull another measure, ACA 13, entirely off the ballot. With that tax battle settled, we now have exactly 14 statewide measures officially qualified for the ballot. This includes 5 referred by the legislature, like Proposition 2, which aims to raise the state's rainy day fund cap from 10 to 20%, and 9 measures that qualified through citizen signature initiatives.
What you should really take away from this is that these state-level compromises directly dictate the financial realities of your local city's budget. Whether you lean toward stronger taxpayer protections or you think local governments need more flexibility to raise revenue, these 14 measures are going to fundamentally alter the financial toolkit your local leaders have to fund public safety and transportation.
And finally, Section 5, reforming state education governance. Let's talk about the new State Education Commissioner.
Let's examine Governor Newsom's newly approved but heavily debated plan to fundamentally restructure how California's public schools are managed. This table breaks down the shift. Under Assembly Bill 181, executive control shifts dramatically by 2027. Currently, an independently elected superintendent of public instruction, the SSPI, directs the Department of Education. Under the new model, the governor will appoint an education commissioner to do that job instead. The elected superintendent role still exists, but their duties shift primarily to advocacy. Plus, the State Board of Education will expand from 11 to 13 members.
To remain completely neutral, we have to look at both sides here. Supporters believe this streamlines accountability, arguing that aligning the agencies under a governor-appointed commissioner creates a clearer chain of command to fix achievement gaps. But critics, including the current superintendent, Tony Thurmond, argue that just reorganizing the org chart doesn't address tangible classroom issues like dyslexia screening, high-dose tutoring, or teaching the science of reading.
And the debate goes beyond just education policy. Some officials, like Assemblymember Tina McKinnon, raised serious constitutional concerns. She impartially argues that removing executive authority from an independently elected official and handing it to an appointee really undermines the checks and balances voters rely on. The worry is this could set a dangerous precedent for restructuring other independent state offices down the line.
Whether you agree with the proponents or the critics, this structural overhaul is undoubtedly going to change the administrative landscape of your local school district. The real test, as education advocates point out, won't just be the structure itself, but the actual person chosen to be the first education commissioner, and whether they have a proven track record of helping struggling students. All right, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you look at your own neighborhood's future. From those capital-raising workshops in Bakersfield to late-night tax compromises in Sacramento, your community is constantly being shaped by these intersecting forces. The board is officially set for this November and beyond. The only question left is, what role will you play in shaping it? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack these vital stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay engaged.